Hey, and welcome. Today we will be taking a closer look at the free-to-play MMORPG called EVE Online. As always, this video will be taking a look especially at what it's like to jump into this great game for the very first time. EVE Online is a MMORPG set in the vastness of space, and that is quite literally so. Just like games such as Elite Dangerous or No Man's Skies, the open world that is there for a player to explore and spend their time in is absolutely massive, but more to that in just a bit. Once I freshly opened the game and watched the amazing cutscene at the beginning explaining some of the basic lore, I was immediately thrown into creating my character, with which I would be flying around the cosmos. The earliest choice was to join one of 4 empires to choose from. The 4 empires that a player gets to choose from when beginning the game are as follows. There is the Amarr, the largest empire that has its place in New Eden. It is ruled by an empress and supported by a foundation of slave labor. Next up are the Caldari, a corporate dictatorship which was founded by the ideals of patriotism and hard work. Then there are the Gallente. They are a federation of champions of liberty and defenders of the weak. Last but not least, there are the Minmatar, which were slaves of the Amarr ones but then became their own empire through a rebellion. Now they're incredibly resilient people and have a sort of tribe system set as their government. Since all of the choices seemed rather cool and had their own something to it, the choice was hard. Therefore I decided that I would simply go with the empire that had the coolest looking ships, which in my opinion are the Caldari. After enlisting with them, there are a few more neat options to choose that gave my character some more personality, like what racial background I wanted my character to have and where my character received education. I was finally opted with the randomizer for my character's looks, which ended up in this stunning beauty, and just like that, I was in the game. As in every game, a suiting introduction is key. The first impression always lasts the longest, which can be catastrophic if done incorrectly. Unfortunately, it is hard for a game that is as complex and deep as EVE Online to cover everything it has to offer without lasting too long, thus boring a player and making them quit before even starting the actual game. To help a new player in EVE up to speed, the friendly voice of an AI ship assistant called Aura comes along and starts to teach basic mechanics such as movement and how to use the various different panels, such as the info panel on the right of one's screen, which is key to getting anything done in the game. A good feature hereby is that unlike other games, it does not simply go over the basic way of doing things, but rather goes about teaching a player to properly do it so that they only have to learn it once. An example for this is combat. The player is given the option to click on the target and engage in an epic space fight like that, but it is rather intensively told to use the keybinds assigned to tasks such as locking onto the target, orbiting them at a certain distance, and firing weapons individually. As you might have heard out and mentioned by me before in this video, EVE is indeed a complex game. Once you start learning the basics, it gets better, but there is still a steep learning curve, which is precisely why the tutorial is a story. It leads a new player through the fundamentals of the game, consisting of several small missions. The thing I really don't like about the tutorial is that while it is long, it feels like that one teacher who always comes to class unprepared, thereby doing revision of a single topic for a whole year. It does not go beyond the very basics of the game. It never teaches on how to group weapons, sell any mined goods, contact other players, etc, so on. All that the tutorial actually teaches is how to do some simple combat against drones that don't even fight back, and how to perhaps accept and complete some simple missions. Luckily, the game has a very helpful community that is more than willing to help players learn the ropes and start enjoying the game, since they all know how hard it can be to begin. I learned this on my second day of play when I just started it up and was excited to go and have some fun taking my spacecraft through the galaxy on behalf of some sketchy looking employer hiring me to take some papers from point A to point B. Since there really isn't anything else to do than looking out the window when traveling along space, the flashing message button on the left hand side panel and the red name appearing in my private chats made me quite curious. It was in fact the GM from the game, who noticed I was a new player and greeted me into the game and offered me some help if I had any questions. After a small chat, They sent me a nice small welcome gift into my inventory with a couple of free ships and some gear for those ships, such as guns and additional utility mounts, which was all very nice. I believe that here is a good point to mention the payment method used in EVE Online. As I mentioned before, the game is a free-to-play game and holds almost all of its content available for free-to-play players. That free-to-play version of the game is called the alpha version, therefore these free-to-play players are also called alpha players. But for the game to actually finance itself there is of course a paid way to play the game, and that comes in the form of a monthly subscription, which is called the Omega. This unlocks some more content for players to enjoy, more ships to fly, and some more quality of life things. In addition to this, there's of course also the usual microtransactions for cosmetics, such as ship skins. This all might sound a bit harsh here, but for the dedicated players it is possible to pay this monthly subscription with in-game currency, and I have had a small conversation with some long-time EVE players who said that there really isn't any way around Omega if you're sticking to the game, but if you're properly invested into it, it's quite manageable to just pay the Omega with in-game money. Back to my second day of playing. There were also several guilds, or as they are called in the game, alliances, that have asked me to join their guild and fly alongside them to properly learn the game. This was astonishing to me, since it showed how much the players of EVE Online care about the game and how much time they're willing to spend helping new players understand the game and learn all of its intricacies so that they can have a more enjoyable time playing the game altogether. Now, all of this is nice, but what is it that these other people in the game actually teach you as a new player? What content is there to explore in the game? As mentioned before, after the tutorial, it is usually seen that a new player does these so-called career missions first before attempting anything else in the game. These act as a sort of tutorial extension and have the sole purpose of setting a new player up with some basic ships, some money in the bank, and a feel for the various different areas that one can spend their time on in EVE. Here's a short rundown of what PvE content is available in the game. You can embark on a business-like life, choosing missions to fly and complete to then earn monetary rewards, item rewards, and maybe most importantly, some reputation rewards, so that you can use your influential charm to play the game as you see fit. Or perhaps running around doing other people's bidding isn't quite your thing, then maybe just whip out that good old rusty mining ship, dump some mining lasers on there, fly to a distant asteroid belt and mine away while listening to your favorite music in the background. But remember to still look out every now and then, or some pirates or simply other players having a bad day will creep up behind you and eat you for breakfast, making all your precious ores theirs and making you lose your ship simultaneously. You could also simply buy the ores you want from the marketplace and then ferry them across the galaxy and sell them off at a higher price to make you some nice turn of change this way. Get more experience and learn what trades where, and voila, you'll be the new merchant king of the universe. But okay, I know, most of you don't really like running around peacefully and making lots of money with mining and trading. It's just not for you. Well, then how about you whip out some fancy cannons, some Gatling guns, how about some missile launchers? And then equip some more lasers on your ships and you're ready to go and assist your empire's forces in fighting off some pirates who you can steal loot from and make money collecting bounties. There are so many ways to make money in EVE Online and play the game, which I would take far too long to mention in just this one video. If that excites you, then I recommend just going and grabbing the game immediately to just try it out and see for yourself. But since I know you are all hard to please, here is what the PvP side of things has to offer. As you guys might know, I am no PvP connoisseur, which is why I can't talk much about actual experiences of fighting other players. I know what there is in the game, and then I'll just conclude this topic by telling you about a friend of mine who's played EVE purely for the PvP side of things. So, first off, what is there to do with PvP in EVE? Well, the only real combat that PvP has to offer in EVE is simply open world combat, where one player fights another until one of them blows up. Hereby, it is a reasonable amount of skill that helps to decide how a battle will turn out, but also the ship that someone is in, and what weapons and what ship mods are attached to that ship. This is also the reason why a lot of PvP is carried out between guilds, since that can get rid of a lot of problems when hunting other players solo. Since it does sound somewhat enticing to go and join a guild's fleet and accompany them into wars against other guilds, a friend of mine has also started playing the game while I was making this video. After a while of getting to know the game, I've asked him some questions on how it is going with his pursuit of PvP, in which he told me that to be able to successfully compete in PvP, you need to have some good equipment, because skill alone unfortunately doesn't win battles. This means that if you're a new player who's entirely out for PvP, then there is no way around grinding some time in normal content, getting enough money to buy all the necessities. And remember, if you then get blown up in a fight, it is basically like starting over if you don't have a good ship insurance. There is still quite a bit that could be mentioned here, but since this video is aimed at new players only and is being told from the perspective of a new player in 2021, I feel like here is a good time to stop. EVE is a complicated and complex game to get the hang of and do correctly. I cannot really say anything about the end game of things because in my limited time playing, I've barely heard about it and there's nothing I can base an opinion on. Therefore, if you feel like the game looks enticing and you want to have a go at it yourself, then feel free to click the link in the description below, which will lead you to the Steam page for it. Once you're down there, also don't forget to like and subscribe, also check out my Twitch streams, also linked down in the description. I will be back with another review fairly soon, and so until then, I hope you stay absolutely fantastic.